Good morning. My name is Mitch Vincent, and this is today's good news. My wife and I have been fortunate enough to do some missions work down in Nicaragua. And so we were down in Nicaragua. I was in front of some school kids doing a one-man skit with a translator, and I'm doing David, and David against Goliath, and I'm getting all into it, and I'm getting all animated, and I'm like, he chops his head off, and he holds it up to scare those Philistines. And right as I hold that up, I go, ah, and I'm holding the proverbial head there, and I'm going, ah, and then my face changes to, ah, ah, because I had gotten stung by something really, really hard. My wife was there recording it, and she says to me, oh, I saw something fly off. Don't worry about it. I'm like, well, that was a bad sting. So I said, I don't know. And I went on, kept going on with the skit there, and then it happened again. And so finally, I started shaking out my shirt, and a scorpion falls to the ground. And sure enough, I got bitten twice by a scorpion, but I kept on going with the skit and tried to bless those kids. But more about Nicaragua a little bit later. Today, we're talking about the abundant life. And we are in John 10, and this is a promise of Jesus this morning that we're seeing in John 10, verse 10. And Jesus says, "The thief does not come except to steal and to kill and to destroy. I have come that they may have life and that they may have it more abundantly." That's a promise of Jesus, the abundant life. And he gives it more and more as we walk with him and give our lives to him. What does the abundant life mean? First of all, let's talk about that thief that Jesus is talking about. You have an enemy that wants to come and steal, to kill, and destroy. That's what the devil does. And when we're living in that way of the world, and we're living in that way of the flesh, man, it steals your joy. It steals your abundant life. It kills everything that's good in your life. It's all about death and destruction and darkness. And it destroys your life, really. The enemy wants to destroy your life. That is what he's all about. But Jesus wants to give you life more abundantly. And what does that mean? Well, it's going to be different for different people. The abundant life is different for that school child that's over in the farming society over in Nicaragua, and very, very poor people. And it's going to be different for me or different for you. But what it does mean is that you are going to be living your life for God. And when you do that, he gives you an abundance. What does he give you an abundance of? Does he give you abundance of cash? Does he give you a big house and a hot wife? You know? Well, he might bless you that way. But you know what? For many of us, the abundant life is really about relationships. You know, there's currency, there's financial currency, and there's also relational currency. And when you have the abundant life, your relationships are blooming. You are having great times with your family. You're being peaceful and joyful. These are the things that God wants to pour out on you. And this is the way that Jesus lived. Now, Jesus lived a fully abundant life. So when we look at Jesus' life, we see that he didn't have a lot of money, but he always had what he needed. He had enough to pay his taxes. We saw that. He did a miracle to do that. Sometimes God will give you a miracle to pay your taxes, Teddo. But, you know, the abundant life is about giving your life to God. You know, when Jesus looked at the Old Testament, they said, what's the greatest commandment? He boiled it all down to loving God and loving people. Loving God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and loving your neighbor as yourself. Love God, love people. If you're loving God and you're loving people, you are living that abundant life. Now, in Nicaragua, we would go to these, around to these schoolhouses and churches, and we'd also go to people's houses, and the children would come from all over, and we'd have 30, 40 kids out there. So we would bring stuff for them to eat. We'd give them a meal or give them some cake or a cupcake, and they would just sit there with whatever we gave them. And I thought, hey, are you not hungry, or why are you not eating? they would not eat it because they would take that home to their family. Whatever we gave them, they would take it home and they'd split it between like 8 people, 8 family members, 10 family members, 15. And you know what? They were happy with that, and the abundant life does look very different to them than it does to us. So what is your abundant life? It's all about loving God and loving people. And that's today's good news.